Hey there, this is Faisal. I'm a certified high performance coach and I help entrepreneurs and professionals just like yourself live happy, fulfilled, and successful lives by raising their performance and potential in everything that they do. In today's video, I wanted to cover an area of your life that few people discuss and even fewer people realize what they do with this. And I asked you a question in this video. I said, are you using your work, relationships, children, and I'll extend it a little bit more, society, politics, money, or anything else as an excuse not to do what you love? And I'll expand it a little bit even more, and we'll cover both of them. Or are you using those things as an excuse not to live the life that you want? And right off the bat, as soon as I asked this question, and I've asked this from so many people, the question comes, but well, I have to work. I have to do this. I have to take care of my children. I have to be a responsible parent. I have to be a responsible student, or whatever else you're doing. And that in itself is an excuse. The reason I know this because I've worked with enough people and I've studied this subject for long enough to know that people use their external circumstances as an excuse not to do the thing that scares them. And there's the key. People are afraid of doing things that would potentially make them very fulfilled, very happy, and very successful. They're afraid to do it because they've been taught most of their life and they watch other people do mediocre things, things that everybody else does. And what ends up happening? They live an average, mediocre, insignificant life. And when I say insignificant, what I mean is that they live a life that they didn't choose. They lived lives that were chosen for them. So let me give you what that looks like. For most people, what that looks like is go to school, get a degree, get a great job, a 9-to-5 job, which ends up being 9 to 7, 9 to 8, or create a business, which ends up being a business, you not running the business, but the business running you. Well, on top of that, get into a relationship, get married, have children. Nothing wrong with any of those things, by the way. And somewhere down the road, get a big house and a nice car and live happily ever after. Well, the problem with that is that so many people have tried that, and yet so many people are still miserable living that way. Why? Because they never stop to think for a second, first of all, who came up with that? And why are we just following that path? And secondly, have I thought this through? Do I really want those things? And I've talked about this before, and the reason I talk about this is because this is one of the areas that people need to question. And I actually had a conversation with somebody. She was actually a newcomer to Canada. She was Filipino. And she had come here for about a year. And I don't know if you know the Filipino culture or not, but a lot of the people that come down here, especially women that come down here, they come here to support their family back home, and much of their economy runs with that because thousands of moms leave and they help back home in Philippines. The reason I know this is because one of my close friends is a Filipino, and also I've talked to a lot of them as well, and you hear a lot of it in the popular culture here as well. And Toronto and Canada, or Ontario in general, has a relatively large population of Filipinos. So I was having this conversation with this lady, a very nice lady, and we started talking about, well, the first complaint she had, and I had heard that complaint so many times, and I've made that complaint myself, is that as great as the life in the West and Canada is, you're always working, and there's no time for anything else. And I stopped to think about it at that moment, and like, that is true. A lot of people are always working all the time, and most of them are doing things that they hate, that they don't enjoy, because they feel like they have to. And then I started thinking, like, well, what was different in Philippines? Like, well, what was the primary thing there? I know that you weren't as well off as here, but what did you guys focus on there? Well, there she said that, well, food and relationships and spending time together was very important, even though they had very little in terms of material things. People had a good quality of life in the sense that they felt connected to each other. They felt happier in a sense. And I can give you the same perspective from my culture. I was born in Afghanistan, but I lived in Pakistan much of my life, and we had very little. But in there, a lot of people around us, they were, even though they were struggling in terms of their material life or finances, but they were connected. They felt happier in a sense. And almost everybody that comes here, they feel that shock as soon as they come to the Western world, and they feel disconnected from everything. The reason I bring up this, and this is common with a lot of people who come to the Western world, and not to mention the people who are natives to here. And the biggest problem with that is that as soon as they come here, their focus changes from people to working. And working to create a life that they didn't really think about. So what are they doing? They end up getting, people come here, they end up getting a job, and most of their resources goes towards what? Buying things that they don't need. They buy furnitures to impress each other, probably on installment, more than likely. They buy a house, a huge mortgage that they get that they can barely afford. They buy a car that they can barely afford. So what ends up happening is these things keep piling on. And to pay for these things, you need a job. And most people, multiple jobs, or many people, multiple jobs. And they don't have the time to do anything else that they want. Now, you ask me, well, I'm there already. What am I supposed to do with that? Well, sit down for a few minutes and reevaluate what you need to do. What you have been doing in your life. The path that you have chosen, is that the right path for you? I have some viewers here. Zach, thank you very much for the comment. No, I'm not from Iran, but I was born in Afghanistan, but I lived in Pakistan for a while. So thanks for joining me here, by the way. So what I'm saying is that take the time to sit down and think about your life, whether you're living in the Western world or the Eastern world or wherever. The life that you're choosing, especially as an adult, is that the path chosen for you, or is it something that you chose? And this is a very difficult question for a lot of people to answer, because they haven't, it's not like it's a hard question in itself. It's hard because most people don't take the time to answer it. And going back to what I said before, it's because they are afraid to do what they love and the life that they could imagine to live. So another question I can ask yourself, I can get you to ask yourself, is that if money was not an issue, if money and resources were not an issue, if you had $100 million in your bank account right now, what would you do with your day-to-day life? What would you do with your day-to-day life? After you get rid of all the vacations and stuff out of the way for a year of traveling everywhere. But actually, that could be a goal as well. But what would you do in your day-to-day life? What would you love to do? For me, I had to ask myself that question, and I had to ask myself that question because it was the life that I was living, I realized was not chosen by me. It was just chosen by the people around me. And I had to ask myself, for a long time I made excuses. I said that, well, because of my relationships, because of society, because of money, I can't live the life that I want. I have to be responsible. I'm still responsible. I still do what I need to do in terms of my responsibilities, but I do what I love to do. I do what I enjoy to do. This is a big part of that. Coaching is a big part of that. Working with people is a huge part of that. Doing the things I do on a daily basis to enjoy life is a huge part of that. For example, things that I do is reading. I love reading and learning on a day-to-day basis. I spent at least from between audiobooks and books and other things, at least an hour or two, if not more, of my day goes into learning. Taking care of myself, eating the right foods, having the time to cook, spending time with my family, those were very important to me. And I wasn't able to do what the way my lifestyle was set up before. And I had to question that and started making changes. So you don't have to change your life tomorrow, even though you can. You can make some minor changes that could completely shift the way you live your life on a day-to-day basis. If you refocus your energy on the things that matter to you, you can do a lot. So if you're, let's go back to the original question. If you love to play an instrument, for example, let's say you love to play guitar, take 15 minutes out of your day and play it. You start. You don't have to take hours, just 15 minutes out of your day. If you love to write and you don't have any time throughout the day and you have 15-hour days, wake up half an hour early or an hour early and sit down and write. Or if you love to read, if you love to play some kind of sports, do that. And going back to designing your life, think about that. What would your ideal life look like if you had all the money in the world? Like if you didn't have to worry about money, resources, or anything else, or any other excuses that you might have, what would your day-to-day life look like? Try to imagine that. Sit down and write. Don't worry about what you write. Just write down just spew out whatever comes to your mind. That might shift something within you, because almost everything that we think in terms of living and doing is based on what we're taught by our environment, by our parents, by our teachers, by our society, by news media, and everything else. But when you start to differentiate between what you actually want versus what your environment wants out of you, you start to live a life that's much more happier, much more excited, much more fulfilled, and eventually much more successful. Because success, a lot of people don't think of this in this way, but success comes from you developing a skill in an area that you're passionate about. Because to develop that kind of skill, you need to work hard towards that. And you need to love what you're doing. Success at a level where nobody can match you comes from that. You can be successful in small ways in terms of getting a job and different things. But if you want to be at the level of people that you admire, that you look up to, then you need to go towards the things that you enjoy. And ask yourself this question. What am I passionate about? And how can I serve with whatever I'm passionate about, with that thing that you're passionate about? So my passion was working with people, and I serve with working with people. And that's what it has and will make me successful in the future. And I firmly believe that. Why? Because I've seen enough examples of that you might not have. And I've studied this long enough to know and worked with enough people who are much more successful than me that follow a similar path. So I'd throw back the question again. What are you using as an excuse not to live what you want? Never use time, children, relationships, or whatever else that you're using as an excuse not to do what you love. So if that love includes something small, that's great. Get it started. If that love includes creating a different type of life, get the process started today. You might create it in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, but just the fact that you got it started will make you feel much better about yourself and about your life. And thanks for all those who joined me on this video, and I'll reply to those answers as well. Until my next video, I wish you guys a great day, and make sure you like and share this video so we can get more people to think about this. Oh, before I go, I forgot to give you guys that offer. So if you're tired of living an ordinary, mediocre life and you're ready to feel more excited, more clear, more happy about your life, and you want to take your success to the next level, there's an amazing offer that I'm offering, and I only have about 5 spots left, where I'll take you through a coaching process, a 90-minute process. I do it either over video conferencing. Most of the time I do it over video conferencing or audio conferencing, sometimes in person if somebody's near me. But If you want to take advantage of that, it's a 90-minute free session. All you have to do is click on the link there and go through the page. It'll give you all the info about it, and fill out the questionnaire. It's sort of an application to see if I can actually help you out. And that questionnaire will help you think through your life in a very positive way. It'll actually get you to think about a lot of the things that I mentioned. And until my next video, have an awesome day. And if you have any questions, any thoughts, any ideas, please let me know. If you want me to do a video on a specific subject, please let me know. Until my next video, have an amazing day. Bye.